There is a little story about a Chinese farmer who had decided to become a Christian. And he tried to explain to his friends what he saw as the main difference between Jesus and non-Christians. He said, "Yesterday, I had a dream. I dreamed that I have fallen into a deep pit where I lay helpless and despairing because I could not see any way out. Now, first my neighbor came along and leaned over the edge of the pit and shouted at me, 'This experience, my friend, will teach you wisdom. My advice is, if ever you get out of this pit, make sure never to fall back into it again.'" Words of wisdom. Next, my uncle came. He stretched out his arm over the edge and said, "If you can manage to climb up far enough for me to reach you, I will help you out. Come, just climb up a little bit. Stretch out your hand." Finally, there was Jesus. When he saw me, he climbed down all the way into the pit. He climbed down all the way into the pit and let me stand on his shoulders. And so I came out. Of course, this could not be a completely fair description of all non-Christians. But anyway, it is a nice way of describing what we believe about Jesus. For that is what he did. That he came down, so to speak, into the depths of our pit, giving up all he had, all his glory, his power, his life, his own body and blood, descending all the way into the deepest depth of our human misery, with the sole intention to save us, to raise us up from death and sin to the glory of a new life. This evening, we have come together to celebrate the first act of that dramatic event of his redemption. Remember how, as he went down, he celebrated the Last Supper, the last meal he had with his friends. Now, Jesus knew what he was going to do. Jesus knew that he was going to die. So on this evening, Jesus wanted to bring out to his disciples for the last time all that was dearest and closest to his own heart, things that really matter, the fullness of his love, the essence of his mission, and what he wanted us to be in the future. And it is in this situation that Jesus did two things which we remember in this Mass every year. First, he took a towel and a basin full of water and began to wash the feet of his disciples. He did so as a sign for all of us what we have to do too. If we want to be a disciple of Jesus, if we want to be a disciple of Jesus, we cannot afford to be individualists, each doing only for his own thing, praying for his own intentions, going his own way, minding his own business. No, we have to learn to be humble servants who help one another, wash each other's feet, raise each other up, help one another to get out of the pit of whatever need or misery we are in. It is hard for all of us to learn this lesson from Jesus. Sometimes when we consider all the forms of evil which continue to exist in our church, in our parish community, unfaithfulness, selfishness, indifference, anger, pride, spitefulness, pettiness, we may wonder, have we really learned anything so far of what Jesus tried to tell us on the evening before he died? And so he asked his disciples, do you understand what I have done? If I, the Lord and Master, have washed your feet, you should wash each other's feet. I have given you an example so that you may copy what I have done to you. Last Sunday's homily, I focused on the image of donkey. How many choose to ride on a lowly donkey? How many choose to humbly serve as a lowly donkey? The second thing Jesus did was the institution of the Eucharist. Of course, along with this is the institution of the priesthood, because only the priests that celebrate the Eucharist. So he says, take and eat, this is my body. Take and drink, this is my blood. In China, there is a wonderful saying. Our religion is an eating religion. You know? As you know, Chinese like to eat, is it? The meaning of this saying is, of course, not that we Catholics are particularly gluttonous, always commit the sin of gluttony. But it means that the act of eating is an essential part of our religious life. Because Jesus is not only the teacher we have to listen to and obey. Jesus is not only the model we want to imitate. Jesus is. And Jesus wanted to be, first and foremost, the food we have to eat. So in John 10, in John 6:53, he says, if you do not eat me or drink me, you cannot have life in you. Without this food, we cannot humbly love and serve. We cannot live in the way He wants. Because the fire that enables us to do what He wants us to do is Jesus Himself living in us. As St. Paul puts it, it is no longer I who live, but it is Christ who lives in me. It is Christ who lives in me, loves. It is Christ in me, forgives. It is Christ in me, shows mercy. So sisters and brothers, this evening let us remember once again that Jesus is the food, and in Him we must be bonded together, fellowship habitually, in humble love and service. as brothers and sisters of the same family. Like Jesus, let us be happy to ride on the donkey and humbly serve as a donkey, like Jesus, willing to go down all the way.